dealers claim to sell the best or nicest cars, but I haven't seen anyone explain how they do this. To be honest, that makes me a little suspicious.
That's a great point, Michelle. It probably should make you a little suspicious. Finding the nicest used cars takes a lot of work and requires a big time commitment.
Sounds like you have to kiss a lot of frogs to find that, Prince.
That's a great analogy, except we usually don't kiss the cars, just on special occasions. But we do have to weed through a lot of vehicles to find the nicest ones.
Can you explain how Dream Cars Credit finds the nicest cars?
Absolutely. We have 3 full-time buyers with decades of experience that are focused on finding vehicles that meet our strict criteria. We mainly buy at auctions throughout Texas. Now, I know some people are apprehensive about auction vehicles and have a negative perception about a vehicle that goes through the auction, but this is really unfounded. The truth is the auctions are kind of a clearinghouse for wholesale vehicles.
For instance, if a Chevy dealer takes a 5-year-old BMW with 60,000 miles in on trade, they probably aren't going to sell that retail as it doesn't fit their model. Many of the new car dealerships are now owned by large corporate groups who mandate that all trade-ins that they don't sell retail must be sold through auctions. They do this to eliminate kickbacks and other under-the-table arrangements on the sale of their wholesale vehicles. The truth is that most wholesale vehicles are sold through a dealer auction, whether they are quality vehicles or problem vehicles. It's the buyer's responsibility to identify the good apples and avoid the bad apples.
The trick is thoroughly inspecting the vehicles before purchasing in order to make sure you only buy the good ones. This is time consuming, and it's why we have 3 buyers to buy 20 to 25 vehicles per week. Every Monday, we review all the auction listings in Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, and Austin for that week. Based on that, we schedule our buyers' travel for the upcoming week. Generally, there are about 5,000 vehicles that we review. When we narrow this down to about 200, we then travel to the auctions and personally inspect the 200 before the auction. This way, we narrow it down to vehicles that meet our condition criteria. We thoroughly inspect the following items on every vehicle prior to bidding or purchasing that vehicle. 1. Has it had any previous accident damage or paint work? We use paint meters to help determine if the vehicle has had any previous paint work or any indications of having been in an accident. 2, we thoroughly review the interior and exterior condition. Vehicles that were poorly maintained cosmetically were most likely also poorly maintained mechanically. Needless to say, we stay away from those. 3rd, we check all the fluids and the maintenance indicators to determine if the vehicle was properly maintained. If you know where to look, there are some easy indicators to pick up on to determine the maintenance history of the vehicle. Our inspections usually reduce the 200 selected vehicles down to around 75 that actually meet our criteria. Next, we review the average auction sale prices and the book values to determine what our maximum bid should be. Then out of these 75 vehicles that we have selected, we'll usually end up with 20 to 25.
That's how we buy 20 to 25 of the nicest vehicles at the lowest price every week. That's a lot of work. It's no wonder most dealers don't do it that way. They generally only go to 1 or 2 auctions and or work with a few other dealers to get their trade-ins. The problem we find with this approach is it limits the dealer's selection, and they end up buying vehicles that aren't really what their customers want, either in terms of make, model, condition, or price. I hope this helps give some understanding about where used cars come from and auction vehicles. Just remember, these vehicles that we pass over end up at other dealers and many times are listed right next to ours on AutoTrader, Cars.com, and Craigslist.